take projection.
Welcome everybody to Taking On Sports. I am TD. That is Greg. Greg, how you doing, man?
I am good. How are you today, sir?
I'm pretty good. Another newsworthy week in sports, at least off the field. A couple
Right.
on field things, but not too long after we stopped recording yesterday, last week, not yesterday, Alabama named their new defensive coordinator, Kevin Steele. We'll get to that because the biggest news of the week is Kevin Durant is now a Phoenix Sun. After Dallas went and made the big trade for Kyrie Irving, the Nets' Big Three era finally dead and done. KD goes to the Suns for a whole bunch. Surprisingly, though, DeAndre Ayton not involved in that.
Yeah.
So that now is a core four of Chris Paul, Devin Booker, KD, and DeAndre Ayton. Greg, what you think about it?
Well, I guess it lets you know the Suns are all or nothing, and they've kind of thrown into everything to get this. They traded some decent players, threw into the picks. I guess kind of a shocker there because the right before the deadline, the Nets were like, "Oh yeah, KD is definitely gonna stay," and you didn't. So, but you had the feeling it might happen, but I was shocked that it'd be the Suns out of all the teams there because I don't know. I just didn't think that they're necessarily a team looking to add a piece like that.
Yeah, for sure. You kind of got the sense that they were going to wait until they were going to trade him, they'd wait till the summer
Right.
and maybe get like a bigger haul of some such.
Exactly.
But they did they did not do that. They made that big move. What was that? The night before the trade deadline, 2 nights before, whatever it ended up
Yeah,
being.
was it Tuesday or Wednesday? Yeah, I think it was Tuesday night.
Yeah. So it was huge. Like we said, it was a big haul. It was definitely, of course, by far the biggest trade of around the deadline.
Right.
There were no other
I
really.
thought the biggest.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say I thought for a while the biggest thing on the actual trade deadline was Russ gonna get the Lakers moving Russ, and then Phoenix. That's not gonna be the biggest thing.
Yeah, absolutely. We thought that after the Kyrie news that the big one would be the Lakers getting D'Angelo Russell back, their former first-round pick,
Yeah.
and a big 3-team deal. Russell Westbrook is now on the Utah Jazz. If he actually plays a game there, remain to be seen. He might be a buyout candidate. Yeah. The Lakers also got D'Angelo Russell, Malik Beasley, and Jarrett Vanderbilt. Mike Conley went from Utah to the T-Wolves there. Just a whole lot of things moving around. The rest of that KD trade, Brooklyn got Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, Jay Crowder, who is now on the Bucks. They got 4 first-round picks.
Jeez.
Picks were flying around, particularly second-round picks. Just everybody's throwing them in there. I mean, the Pelicans traded 4 second-round picks for Josh Richardson.
I was like, my goodness.
Does this? I guess does this make the Suns the favorite in the West now?
I mean, on paper, you would say so, but I mean, you just have to see. KD currently out, so I mean, is he going to come back? How healthy will he be? Also, just gelling with the new team. Of course, being how good of a player he is, I'm sure it won't take him too long, but you never know. Just how everything meshes together once you're all out on the court.
Yeah, I think you mentioned big key of that is the health of KD, and then of course Chris Paul. Like, can you get the full? Can you get everything out of them once you get to the playoffs?
Right.
Can they survive it? Suns also got T.J. Warren in that pick, good bench shooter off the bench.
Back.
Yeah. It's definitely a great move by the new owner who finalized the sale of the buying of the team 24 hours before, then definitely made a splash. And like you said, the Suns are now all in. And the Nets are in full rebuild. Just a few years after signing KD and Kyrie, and then trading for Durant or Harden, not Durant.
Yeah, James Harden. I mean, they had They had the supposed big three and were the favorites. And really, I mean, that was the second time they've kind of done that, a little different before. Of course, way older and past their prime. But I mean, they tried to do that with KG and Paul Pierce before, and kind of failed. And doing it with this big three. So I don't know. The Nets, they just seem to do whatever splashy, and I don't know if they're really about winning games or because a lot of craziness. Who would have thought that Ben Simmons would be the last of that bunch to be there?
Yeah, right. And if you're a Nets fan, you're a little frustrated because for a while they were the hottest team in the league, and then KD got
Yeah,
hurt, and Kyrie wanted out, and it just all fell apart.
just blew up. Yeah,
And now it
they had
also
one like
go ahead.
my bad. They had run like what 10 or 12 straight before that
Oh,
injury, and then
it was something crazy, like even like 15 out of 17 or something. Like they were
yeah,
hot, and
hot.
yeah, and it also kind of changes the power dynamic in the NBA now. Like the East was kind of the stronger conference, and now it kind of everything flips back to the West. The West was a
A
powerhouse for
little bit.
years, and now they're
Yeah,
you know, just it was always a tight conference. We mentioned last week how like teams
yeah,
4 through 13 were all within 5 games of each other, but now it's just heavy hitters. So you got to feel like the big three teams in the East, the Celtics, the Bucks, and the Sixers, are definitely happy that this happened because
right.
they're rolling. Of course, the Celtics have their own injury problems now. Jaylen Brown's going to be hurt for a little bit.
Yeah,
Um, yeah. Other than that, we mentioned D'Angelo Russell to the Lakers. I don't. He's been awful this season, to be honest, and I don't know how much
yeah.
that help them. Maybe change of scenery helps.
Well, maybe so. I mean, if anything, I think with who they added, they became a better shooting team. Um, but yeah, overall, I mean, how much does it help you get out of the 13th spot? I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, they looked okay last night. Time to time they're going to win a game. Bron is having his own injury issues again. It looks like. So who knows with that? But long term, this just isn't gonna win you anything in the NBA. I don't think just with the whole makeup.
yeah. Maybe the biggest impact of that trade is from a Pelicans fan or Pelicans franchise point of view, where maybe that ruins. The Lakers can sneak into the playoffs, and the Pelicans don't have
Right.
a lottery pick now to swap for.
Yeah.
But like you said, they're still battling injuries. You never know um, what you're going to get from AD. Like I mentioned, Russell D'Angelo has not been that great this year in Minnesota, so we'll see if the change of scenery wakes him up. It's all kinds.
But who knows?
Elsewhere, there was a big 4-team deal that might be in jeopardy now. The Warriors punted on the James Wiseman pick and
Yeah.
got Gary Payton II back, but he might have failed a physical.
Yeah.
So I think we're waiting to
Either,
see.
I think it's either accept or pass type
Yeah,
thing.
basically it's up to them, but that's a big 4 trade. He went to Detroit. They got Gary Payton II back from Portland. Sadiq Bey ended up in Atlanta, which was a sneaky good. I feel like they would be
Yeah,
the
that was
maddest of all the 4 teams if this trade gets canceled.
right because that was definitely a nice pickup for the Hawks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's one. Let's see what else happened. I mentioned the Pelicans got Josh Richardson. It's okay. They needed veteran stuff, but they're not. They're not making any huge trades right now. They made their huge one last year. They got CJ McCollum,
Right, CJ was a big one.
and you just don't know. I think I've said it on here before, but they've only played like about 180 minutes with the starting 5 they want. With CJ
Yeah,
and Herb Jones and Ingram and Zion and Jonas. And when they were the best record in the West at one point this season, they were playing great
right,
defense. So I don't think you want to mess up and make a huge trade and get rid of all this draft capital you got and blow up a young nucleus. And from everything I read, they were telling teams that Herb Jones and Trey Murphy were off the table. So, but yeah, so we'll see. They got just another veteran that's been there before, a wing shooter.
right.
Yeah, we'll see. The Lakers also got Mo Bamba, sent Pat Beverly to the Orlando.
That was interesting.
Yeah.
I get. I mean, it's good. I mean, it just kind of let you know they never know when. It's good to add a defensive big man because of the AD. Who knows? So it's good. Definitely that might be a bigger addition for the Lakers, at least defensively.
Yeah, the funniest part of that was Pat Beverly initially, got sent to LA in that
Yeah,
four-team deal from Minnesota, and he tweeted out a picture of him and D'Angelo saying reunited,
right.
and then the Lakers
Yeah,
like, yeah, about that, sorry. Um,
yeah.
and other than that, yeah, there's just nothing else that's like it's a bunch of bench guys, a bunch of rotation guys. We mentioned
No,
Jay Crowder's in Milwaukee now, which is kind of,
that's a good pickup for the Bucks. That may be
hmm
come playoff time. That's someone you want on your team.
yeah, it's a sneaky good one. I think really the big thing with Milwaukee and how far they go is Chris Middleton's health.
Oh yeah, because they're a whole different team when he's healthy.
Yeah, but Jay Crowder, who hasn't played this year, he's just one of those guys that you want on your team in the playoffs. I mean, as
Oh yeah,
Pelicans fans last year, he just got under their skin in that series with
yeah
Phoenix.
he's physical
Mhm.
and yeah,
Yeah. Let's see. A 3-team trade. Eric Gordon goes to the Clippers. Luke Kennard goes to the Grizzlies, which I think that's a decent get for them.
yeah,
John Wall back in Houston. He's another buyout guy that you think maybe he won't ever actually play.
right. Yeah,
Um,
said he might go to the Heat, but who knows?
yeah, we'll see there. Clippers also got Mason Plumlee for Reggie Jackson. Yeah, just little things like that going around. The Nuggets got
Right.
Thomas Bryant from the Lakers. The joke being that because if you watch LeBron's shot to break the all-time scoring record again, Thomas Bryant was in the post calling for the ball. um,
Oh man,
but yeah,
funny stuff.
yeah, and again, there's a lot of little things. Matisse Thybulle ends up in Portland now. It's just looking through this list of things, there's just not. Jacob Patel goes from San Antonio to Toronto. That's actually a big one of what didn't happen. Toronto, everyone thought that OG or Fred Van
Yeah,
Fleet might go somewhere, and
somebody.
they stood pat.
I didn't- Yeah, I was kind of shocked that none of those guys moved at all. I would
Hmm.
have thought someone would have moved out of that because that seems like they're kind of at the end of their little run of what it was, and we're gonna start clearing house in Toronto. But
For
we'll
sure,
see.
especially because they're on the outside looking in of the play-in
Yep.
race right now. It was
Right.
kind of a lot of these guys that didn't move that kind of surprised you. Zach LaVine did not go anywhere. Buddy
Yeah.
Hield didn't go anywhere. Guys that have always been. John Collins is still in Atlanta.
People are always on the trade block. There's always conversation, but yeah,
Mhm.
and John Collins, that is definitely one that.
Yeah. Elsewhere, I guess Phoenix is the big winner. They just Phoenix and Dallas of the around the trade deadline right now. They're just,
Yeah, I thought we had really did some, and then Phoenix tried to up it one, but we'll see. Might run into them in the playoffs again now.
yeah. We'll see. That should be a good series. Kyrie looked really good in his Dallas
He's looked good
debut.
so
Yeah.
far. Two games had 25 plus. 1-1. Played the Kings twice. Beat them once without Luca. Lost to him with Luca. Kind of weird, but I thought so far what he's done in Dallas. I mean, he seems to fit well with everything, but it's just a matter of how long does everybody stay happy, I guess. 'Cause, that's been the biggest thing with, as you know, with Kyrie, a hell of a ball player. But when things go sour in the locker room with him, it goes quickly. So hopefully we can figure it out, at least get everything in line for the rest of the season, and make a playoff run before if things were to go sour, happens after that. So
Yeah. Uh, Absolutely. Looking at some headlines right now. Everything seems to be really about who's going to get a buyout. It looks like Reggie Jackson actually got bought out from the Hornets, and he's going to join the Nuggets. So that's actually a sneaky
that's
good
a
pick for them
that's a
too.
good pick for the Nuggets,
Yeah.
man.
Mm-hmm.
That's a smart one to have, just because you never know. Murray gets hurt a lot, so always good to have another guard there.
Yeah, that's and especially a guy like Reggie Jackson, a lot
Oh
of
yeah, a lot
playoff
of respect.
experience. Yeah. Let's see. Danny Green looking like he might join the Cavs again, where he started his career. So that'd give them some veteran presence on the wing.
Present stuff.
Um, Looks like Terrence Ross will actually join Phoenix.
Yeah, I saw that this
Yeah.
morning.
Just little things like that. And then elsewhere, it's kind of injury news. Zion
Zion
apparently, had a
again.
setback again.
Yeah.
So still multiple weeks away from returning. So that's even past the All Star break. That's it's unfortunate for a Pelicans team that was has struggled recently. They did snap out of that 10-game win streak and put together a few back-to-back wins before the other night. For looking just kind of really listless against Cleveland the other night. But
Right, yeah. I saw some of that.
yeah, so if we look at and of course we mentioned Jaylen Brown, he's got that orbital fracture for
That's nasty.
that's
Yeah, and that's one of those ones you never know how it's going to heal as well. So,
yeah, and then he comes back if he's got to wear a mask. You never know how you adjust to that.
all right,
How much that affects your shooting rhythm. Just looking
right,
through that, and then we got as we mentioned last week, we've known the Steph injury in Golden State. Just
all right.
a lot of guys trying to heal
A
up
lot of
before the stretch
injuries.
run. Yeah,
Yeah, a lot of injuries. Just like you know, just makes you wonder. Like, are they going to any physical? Like, what are the training? I want to know kind of what the training regimens are for these teams because a lot of these guys are going a light schedule anyway. I mean, they're playing 60 games as planned, and they're sitting out even more than that. So it's like, dang. It's I think especially sucks for the people that are plan to go to games and more so to see a certain player than a team. You go because the Warriors are in town. You want to see Steph play. Fans not getting to see Steph or you Lakers come to town. You want to see Bron. Bron's not playing that night or AD's not playing that night. So kind of takes away, especially for the kids.
yeah,
You kind of feel bad for the fans just going to see certain players and really not knowing and putting their hard money on it and not knowing if they're going to see anybody that they really want to see.
yeah. It's always especially with this load management era now,
Yeah,
which I get. You got to take care of
I
your body.
get it
It's a good thing,
completely.
but yeah, it does suck for the fans sometimes when you get tickets to a certain road team and then nope,
Yeah,
turns out they're taking a break tonight. Or
right,
and you mentioned something interesting too, the training regimen. Zion got hurt, ramping up to rejoin the team, and he's done
right.
that before where he's aggravated an
And it's
injury.
like, man, how like what happens with how did I mean I don't know, but I'm not a trainer by any means, but like how does that happen? Like was there no signs that he was anything or
Yeah.
that,
And that's
that's gotta
shitty.
that's gotta be tough.
Yeah. Real tough. Shitty time if you're Pelicans too. They're about to embark on their usual big time kind of road trip they always do
Right.
around Mardi Gras in New Orleans to work with that city because, the
Yeah,
parades mess with traffic and everything, and it's hard scheduling
for sure.
that big event too. So the
Oh
7 of
yeah.
their next 8 games are on the road,
Mm.
including this week. They go to the Thunder, the Lakers, the Raptors, and then the Knicks. So,
Mm.
but yeah, as we check in on standings, the Nuggets still kind of trying to run away with the West. The Grizzlies are there behind them at 4. They're still struggling after all that fighting they've been doing. There's real no, and the Suns. The thing about that trade too is that they were kind of already the hottest team in the West, and now,
Yeah, I just
add that piece. So whenever he gets
if
healthy,
things, yeah, if things go as planned, I mean that's gonna be a nasty team.
yeah. In the East, we mentioned the big 3. They'll be the happiest about that. And Boston's
Yeah,
their leads down to 1. Milwaukee, they're the hottest team in the league. They won 10 in a
right.
row. So
And that helps I would think moves Cleveland up to the 4 for sure.
yeah, they're 4.5 back, game behind Sixers. And then the Nets they're sitting there now. They're in the 5th spot, 7 back, but only 3 ahead of the play-in, the Knicks.
Yeah.
So that's that'll be interesting what changes there. How far if the Nets drop, or does Cam Thomas continue to score 40 a game? And
40 a game.
but yeah, that should do it for the NBA. That's it. All-Star game coming up, but next weekend, 2 weeks.
Yeah, next weekend.
Yeah, the 19th. That's right, a week from Sunday. So that'll be fun to watch. We'll move, and we mentioned it at the top of the podcast. Alabama, about, again, like 30 minutes after we stopped recording last week, named Kevin Steele as defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Funny, we actually both said on last week's podcast, not exactly what we wanted.
But
As the weeks went on, I've kind of talked myself into it a little more. It, by all accounts, it seems like he might just be placeholding
kind of the
until
placeholder.
until
Yeah.
Jeremy Pruitt can clear the NCAA.
We had kind of said that last week because we weren't. I don't think anybody is really until we hear a definite ruling, just how serious the allegations are with Pruitt. How many if he's going to get a show clause. But I mean, I understand it. Nick couldn't wait around forever, and get a guy that he has a lot of experience. He's had some, he's well versed in the SEC. So I mean, if he's the placeholder, and it seems like they have pretty good defensive assistant team around him right now, I guess it not the worst thing. I guess nothing flashy or splash about it, but kind of is what it is, and we'll see how the rest plays out.
Yeah, for sure. It's a veteran hire. He's worked with Nick Saban at Alabama 2 different times. He was defensive coordinator in Auburn for the last 4 years of the Malzahn era. And of course, that came with some shady stuff too. Maybe him trying to go behind and take his job. But we'll see there. As our buddy Nate Barfield likes to say, he's the guy that's defense gave up 70 in the Orange Bowl when he was at Clemson. So that's always something you think back on. But one interesting thing I saw this week about the hire was that the past few seasons, what our defense has been struggling with is kind of the simple stuff, just fundamental, missing assignments, blowing, not being where you should be. And Kevin Steele is all about that. He's a guy that it's hard on fundamentals and simplifying things. And
maybe that's what we need.
Exactly. And if you can just, the talent's there. So if you can just simplify things for these guys and just put them where they need to be and then let their talent go and make plays, then, maybe that is what we need.
Maybe so. Because my biggest thing with the defense, and I think it's most Alabama's fans of the defense, especially in that secondary, the corners just don't turn around.
Mm-hmm.
they never turn around, turn their neck, see the ball coming, and that's been a thing for a while. I mean, we've had some great corners. I mean, Kool-Aid's a great corner now, but whenever they get burnt, it's always someone either not turning around, not being aware, and way too many pass interferences over the last couple of years. So, maybe getting back to the fundamentals and just, the easiest things, maybe the things that we think we're good at, maybe getting back to the fundamentals to get us to where we need to be in this. Because, of course, defense is much different now just with how offenses are. So, and necessarily don't look at the points or I'd say the yards more or less. It's a matter of, being not breaking, not giving up touchdowns, holding people to field goals, and just the dumb mistakes that we've had. We've, get to 3rd and long, and then we have a dumb penalty or give up a big play on 3rd and long, and we've really hurt ourselves a lot on defense. So getting back to the fundamentals, maybe that's what we really need because there's been some frustrating moments the last couple of years at certain times. So
yeah, absolutely. Like you said, just getting guys where they're supposed to be, having them not be out of position and giving up big plays. Like I said earlier, just you can put them in a position to be where they need to be for their talent to take over,
right,
and make a big play. Then hopefully that's what what this Kevin Steele hire brings to the defense, just some consistency.
Yeah, exactly.
But so elsewhere, the big news this week is Texas and Oklahoma finalized an agreement with the Big 12. They will join the SEC, in 2024. So that would be it. They will be the 16-team SEC, the first big conference that's 16 teams. I do believe that Conference USA was actually 16 teams back in around the turn of the century.
I think so. They took everybody that didn't get into the Big 12 out of the Southwest Conference pretty much. Like I know TCU and SMU and a whole bunch of teams are in there.
Yeah. So that brings up, the possibility. So we will see this upcoming season will be the last of the West versus East split. And then we'll go to, no divisions, kind of like
pods.
the little pods. And
that'd be interesting.
it seems to be the two. What they're deciding on is an 8-team schedule with one permanent opponent, or a 9-team schedule with three permanent. And it seems like everything's pointing to the 9-team, which is the way to go.
Right,
Um,
9-3.
yeah,
Yeah,
if you got 16 teams in your conference, you should play 9 conference games. That's
yeah,
not, and then maybe that means we get rid of these playing Austin P. Just play a
thank you.
lower level. Play a, I don't know,
Yeah, play
uh, someone play Ball State at least. I
yeah,
don't
play
know.
power. Well, at least a Division 1.
Play Troy, play South Alabama. Hell, I don't know.
Yeah,
I've never understood that. It's like the only explanation I've ever heard for Alabama not scheduling those teams is like, well, it's we don't gain anything by winning it, and then we lose so much by losing it. Like, so
yeah,
that sounds like we're scared. Like,
yeah.
we're Alabama. Why are we scared of
All
that?
right. Yeah.
Beat the shit out of UAB. It'd be fun. But in
Plus,
terms of, go ahead.
that'd be a great. I mean, that'd be a great game. I mean, you could even, switch it up every now and again. Let it go to Birmingham. Let the Alabama fans up there, some UAB fans. I mean, it'd be fun either way.
Yeah, exactly. Playing this nice new stadium we got here.
Exactly.
Hell, let Troy come Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, that'd be. I mean, but yeah, at least have some in state. Gain some. Get some, that would at least gain a little more attention for the game, a little more, I think, a little more fan presence. And, yeah, Austin P or, a FCS team, they're going to beat 70-7. Like, what
For
does
sure.
that do?
Games that struggle to
Especially,
sell tickets anyway. And
yeah. I mean, that's going to sell tickets. You play UAB in November, that's going to be a big time game.
yeah, and fans will stay for that one.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But so that moves that conversation now to scheduling. Like one things we know we'll get back. We'll get the return of the Texas A&M rivalry,
Oh, yeah, that
which
was
is good.
great.
And reading there's an article on The Athletic this week about how Jimbo Fisher apparently slipped up, and I guess a news conference and mentioned that A&M's permanent opponents would be Texas, LSU, and Mississippi State, which is the last one's weird. Those first two I can get, but so they had a
Mississippi State, huh?
theoretical pods for every team. Because when I seen it, there's two ways you can go. You can try to make it geographical, but I think that just kind of gives you the same problems that we have now.
Yeah.
Plus, that doesn't keep your rivalries, and the SEC is big on that. Because if you do geographical, I don't think Alabama keeps playing Tennessee every year.
Yeah, exactly. No.
You can't get rid of that. But so here, I'll read you these theoretical, and we'll see if we like them or may want some switches. Alabama's would be Auburn, Tennessee, and Mississippi State, which I like. I think that's what it should be.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Auburn and Tennessee, your biggest rivals,
Auburn,
and then
Tennessee,
State.
yeah. As long as those two stay, the third one not that big of a thing to me. I know some people, some guys and even former players I saw would like to see LSU be the third opponent. Wouldn't be a bad thing either way, but Mississippi State makes sense. I mean, only 80 miles away, But
yeah, and I think that's something that you should really look at too. If it's the closest team in your camp, we should probably play them every year.
yeah.
And then a little known fact too, but Tennessee's we've played them more times than any other team, but number 2 is Mississippi State. They're only a game behind. We forget that we had that 40-year break when we didn't play Auburn.
Right.
Auburn's actually 5th on that list. It's
Interesting.
I don't have it pulled up. I looked at it yesterday, but it was Tennessee, then State, and then actually Vanderbilt was in there 3 or 4. Yeah, that was a shocking one. And then I believe might have actually been LSU would have been the other one. I can't remember right, but I think that's the right 3 for Alabama. If I were to make schedule, that's what I do.
Good.
Arkansas would be Ole Miss, Missouri, and Texas.
I mean get that Arkansas Texas because that means a lot. That rivalry may not mean a lot to Texas fans, but in the state of Arkansas, Texas is like the biggest thing. So yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I think it's kind of weird. You don't necessarily think of Arkansas and Ole Miss as big rivals, but I believe they would be the closest in terms of
how close they are to each other.
Distance, yeah.
Distance wise, and they've had some classic games over the years. They had that 1-7 overtime game. They've had some good games over the years. So
maybe with Oklahoma coming now, they might be Norman and Fayetteville might be a little bit
They
closer. I'm
might
not
be
sure,
right.
but
That might be the closest.
yeah. But yeah, I like those for Arkansas,
Yeah,
Missouri.
that's
They're border
pretty
rivals.
close border
Arkansas,
rivalry.
Texas is an old school rivalry from
The
the
old school
SWC.
rivalry, yes, sir.
Yeah, so I don't mind keeping that. Auburn's, ooh, they get a tough one. Georgia, Florida, Alabama.
Whoa,
Yeah, that's
yikes!
a
That's a tough
exactly. Yeah,
throw.
that's a rough one. That Auburn Florida rivalry is an old school one there.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And I don't know. Yeah, I don't know who you replace there for Auburn.
No, I
Maybe
mean,
LSU, but I don't know. I think Gainesville's closer. Um, and obviously they have to keep Alabama and Georgia.
yeah, yeah,
Um, speaking of Georgia, or we move, Florida's would be Georgia, Auburn, and South Carolina. Um,
yeah. That makes sense.
yeah, that's an interesting one there. Obviously, again, you have to keep Georgia there.
Gotta keep Georgia
Um,
there.
yeah, if the Auburn one, that's an old school rivalry, and the South Carolina is a newer one, obviously, but kind of closer too. There's probably an argument you could make for keeping that Tennessee game,
Mm-hmm.
although that's fallen off in a few years. And then plus, once we get to Tennessee, we'll see why that's kind of troublesome.
Right.
Georgia's would be Auburn, Florida, South Carolina as well. And yeah, I think again that's you have to keep Auburn, you have to keep
Florida.
Florida, and then South Carolina's. I
South
mean,
Carolina.
Columbia and Athens are
Yeah.
again they're like an hour and a half from each
They've
other.
and they've had a kind of at times a rivalry. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
not as big to the Georgia people, but South Carolina, I'd say definitely sees it as a rivalry.
Yeah, absolutely. Kentucky, they have Vanderbilt, Tennessee, and South Carolina as well. Um, that's one that I might start switching with. I think you have to keep Tennessee, obviously, and
Tennessee,
Vanderbilt.
Kentucky, yeah, a lot of
Yeah. Vanderbilt, they're close. I think that's probably the closest campus, but I don't know if you would maybe find a way, if you could find Missouri maybe to make, since they do border each other, the
Missouri,
states.
Kentucky,
Yeah.
yeah,
So we'll see what you would switch around once we get down there. LSU's is Ole Miss, A&M, and Oklahoma. I think that's probably right.
yeah.
The A&M games, that's become kind of a heated little
Kind of a
rivalry
rivalry.
there.
Yeah, I mean they're two
Mm-hmm.
states that border each other. A lot of dislike between Texas and Louisiana naturally.
Mm-hmm.
They've had some hotly contested games. Yeah, you can definitely have to have that one. Bring back the A&M OU from the Big 12. That could be some interesting games every year. So I like it.
Yeah, the Oklahoma one's a little weird to me. Um, I'm just not sure with working around what you replace it with. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean it's
So
good.
if the next team we would get to states, theirs would be Ole Miss, Alabama, obviously, and then A&M as well.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, that Miss State A&M game. I don't know.
yeah, that's the weird one to me. I don't understand why that's permanent. It seems just kind of forced and
Battle
thrown
of the
in there.
Maroon teams. I don't know. Could
I
Jack
guess,
Cottrell
yeah.
coach both of them? Maybe. I don't know.
It's a weird one. I feel like I'd want to find a way to uh, I don't know, just make. We'll see if we
Yeah.
go to. We'll skip Missouri real quick. Oklahoma's they have Texas, Missouri, LSU. Got to keep Texas, obviously. Missouri, that's an old Big 8 rivalry.
Right.
And those two states do border each other a little bit.
Yeah.
But then they don't play Arkansas. That's a weird one to me
Yeah, I would think that
because
they
they're
play
so close to each
Arkansas,
other.
not too far away.
But then you go back to Arkansas, and who do you take away there from Ole Miss, Missouri, and Texas? That's where
Uh, I
you
mean,
get tough there.
if I'm Arkansas, I try to figure out how to get out of the Mizzou one more than any of them because I think
Yeah,
that's more of a forced rivalry because they're close more than they really dislike each other. But that'd be
yeah,
me as far as if I'm Arkansas. I think we'd be much more excited to play OU every year as far as just the excitement of the game than Mizzou. But I mean, I can see it both ways as far as the proximity and everything like that. But
Because as of now, they have Missouri's as Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Vanderbilt.
Huh. Excuse me.
And yeah, and you understand Oklahoma again, old Big 8 rivalry. You kind of
Yeah, but
understand Arkansas again, like you
right.
just said. They're bordering states. They're right there. Their
Yeah,
campuses are fairly close.
right.
Vanderbilt one, they do border the state of Tennessee a little bit, and I guess they're kind of close. It's another one of those kind of weird ones.
Right. And there's gonna be some weird ones because really no one's a real rivalry other than Tennessee with Vanderbilt, and that's more of a
Mhm.
Vanderbilt thing. But yeah, I don't think.
Yeah. And then so we did Oklahoma. Ole Miss is State, Arkansas, LSU. South Carolina's Georgia, Kentucky, Florida. Tennessee, Alabama, Kentucky, Vandy. Texas is A&M, Oklahoma, Arkansas. Texas A&M, as we mentioned, Texas, LSU, and Mississippi State. And Vanderbilt's would be Tennessee, Kentucky, Missouri. It's not perfect. Don't know that you could get it. There
No.
a couple of changes. Like we said, that A&M Mississippi State one's really weird.
Yeah, kind of is.
But you don't know where you try to replace that. Do you do? You just it's hard to figure out where with only 3 permanent games.
Exactly.
Where to switch it around. And the other option would be geographical, and that's where you kind of get because then you basically just have four team divisions.
Right. And I
But in
don't.
that
Yeah, I don't
instance,
like.
no. And if you did it there, it would be
No.
let's see, and it gets weird too. So it would be like OU, Texas, A&M, and then do you either add Arkansas to that or LSU?
Right, because they both are all in proximity.
Yeah, right. Or do you do? Then you have like Kentucky, Vandy, Tennessee, and then who do you add there? Do you add
I should do like
Missouri or South Carolina? And that's where you start to lose rivalries too, because if you did geographically, then it should be Ole Miss, State, Alabama, and then maybe LSU.
Right.
Then that means Alabama's not playing Auburn or Tennessee every year.
Right.
We know that's not going to happen.
Yeah, so
So do you
they definitely have to go with the 9. I'd say the 9 to the 3 is really your only option with 3 guaranteed game. Well, 3 for sure games every year because anything else, rivalries are going to get lost, and the rivalries mean a lot, especially in the SEC, just with the history and just the alumni and folks. Man, people would be pissed if certain games are missed there. So
yeah, absolutely. You can't. Just some things you can't take away, and if that means that Texas A&M and State have to become forced rivals now, then
that's what it is.
So be it. Yeah, I mean, if that Missouri Vandy is now a rivalry, okay.
Hey, it is what it is. Because but I like. Overall though, if it goes how we mentioned, you got most of the big games. You got Texas playing A&M, OU, Arkansas. The 3. That's Texas every year. 3 rivals. That's what you like to see. Alabama playing our rivals. Auburn playing their rivals. Florida mainly playing rivals, guaranteed every year. That's what you want to see. Georgia, same thing. So, I like it. And I think they'll have the sense to get it done like that. But that's really what you want to see there. Move it to the 9 with 3 guarantees there. So.
Yeah. And then after that, it's just figuring out tiebreakers and stuff like that. If I feel like most of the years it would be the teams with the 2 best records may not have played each other or just so obvious.
Right.
And then it also allows you to see every other team beside your 3 permanent opponents. It allows you to see them in like no less than 3 every 3 years, 2 years, something like that. Yeah. So now it's not like you can go 7 years without, or is it Georgia has never played at A&M since they've joined the SEC somehow?
12? Was it 2012? Was their first year?
When Texas, that was A&M Missouri's first year.
That's crazy. 2023, and they still haven't been there.
Yeah, and it's just weird scheduling quirks that divisions just kind of hamper you in. But yeah, so that'll be, again, that's 2024. So this season will be the last of the East-West split in the SEC, the last with the big game of the week on at
Yeah,
CBS.
because there were 20. Is this the
hmm
last year for the CBS too?
It is,
Oh
yeah.
wow,
So it's the end of an era in two ways. So ESPN starting fresh with two new teams and
two new teams,
the game of the
the
week.
2:30 game. That'll be such a change because it's been so long. There was 2:30s SEC on CBS, and now it'll be yeah the Big Ten on CBS, and that's just weird.
Yeah, yeah. No, it'd be interesting to see if ESPN keeps that big game in that slot, or if they maybe
Move it to a prime time
move it to. Yeah, I would think they'd move it to
because
prime
they
time.
had
That
that
seems
six
like what they would do.
o'clock. Because they already have that 6 o'clock spot. Maybe they move that.
hmm
Maybe they move whatever games usually in the second game of the week. The SEC number 2 game up to that 2:30 spot in that prime time to make that 2:30 game that 6 or 7 o'clock spot. That makes the
Yeah.
most sense, and because usually the Big Ten likes to get their game out of the way at 11 in the morning, so
hmm Yeah, they got the big noon game as they call it,
and to have that.
or the big 11 o'clock
But I
game if
guess
you're
the only thing with that is the ABC usually has a game at 6 or 7, so I don't know how they would. I mean, it's the same company. I mean, same family of networks. I don't know how that works as far as determining what they put at that, or how that determines the 2:30 and the 6 game for ESPN or not. But,
yeah, maybe they just finally tell the ACC, look, Clemson, North Carolina is not a primetime game,
yeah,
or they
right,
they boot them down to that ESPN 2 slot or
right,
something like
something.
that.
So would that
But
mean if it goes like that, would that mean that Herb Street and them call the SEC game?
I believe that would be the Herb Street.
And
Uh, who calls that? Is that Chris
Chris
Fowler?
Fowler, yeah. So,
Yeah.
that'd be interesting.
Yeah. Elsewhere, let's see. SEC schools got about 50 million this year from the conference,
Yeah,
all the winnings and money they raked in. That's incredible.
only gonna go up.
Charlie Strong's leaving Miami
Yeah,
because he did
he
not
did
get
not
the
get it.
DC job. Um, let's see. Notre Dame's still looking for their replacement. Just
I
Norville
saw,
got a
I saw.
extension at Florida State.
Yeah, he got to 2029. It's like, all right, he
Yeah,
had
something like
one
that.
decent season. Calm down, guys.
Yeah, that's like, ooh, that's
He went from hot seat. I mean, it was a heck of a run. Yeah, they won 10 games and all, but it's like, come on, guys. Still didn't win the division. Lost all the key teams in the division. Technically, I mean, they did. I mean, now from the beginning, that LSU win looks much better. Maybe it did at that point, just
mm-hmm,
with how LSU came together at the end there. But maybe definitely, I guess they like his trajectory and what he's done with the transfer portal and everything. But man, I was like, man, they definitely got him big money quick because 2029, and this is a man that was supposed to be out. So good for him for getting the
mm-hmm.
money while he can. Because if there's anything that's guaranteed in the world, it's coaching money. Once you sign that contract, no matter what happens, you're gonna get paid something.
Absolutely, yeah. We'll flip to the hardwood this week. Alabama, another big week in hoops. They got a big win over Florida at home midweek, and then yesterday got the big road
Big
win
road
at
win.
Auburn.
Yeah.
Um, Tough environment. Referees not letting the game flow at all.
Mm,
It was a brutal game for the refs, both ways too.
yeah.
I'm sure some late no calls or calls that Auburn fans will not be happy with, but they also had the discrepancy in free throws was just ridiculous
Right. Yeah.
in their favor.
Exactly. So at that point, you're like, look at the free throw differential. It's all right, guys. But always a good. Now that's a tough place to go into. We've had our struggles over the years down on the plains, and
hmm
just getting that big win on the road. And they played tough. Really came through late in the second half. That's what you like to see. Defense stepped up and get them ready for another big one Wednesday night, going up to Knoxville against the Tennessee team that has lost both games this week. So
Lost both games by last-second buzzer beaters
Buzzer beaters.
against Vanderbilt and Missouri. Tough week for the
Tough
Vols,
week
yeah.
for 'em.
Good, really good if you're Alabama because that opens up a gap there between the two in the SEC standings. A&M is actually now second place.
Quietly having a heck of a season in conference anyway. They started off season stuff, but really turned around this in the SEC play, and yeah, quietly having a heck of a year.
Yeah. They won't. Out of those two, Alabama and A&M won't meet until the last game of the regular season in College Station, I believe.
So that's on.
But yeah, Alabama's up 2 on A&M and up 4 on Tennessee right now. So
I like it.
That's big in Alabama's quest to win the SEC regular season title.
That is huge.
Let's see elsewhere. Another rough day for a rough moment for the refs. The Duke Virginia game.
Oh yeah.
And they I actually watched the end of that one live, and I don't know how they said that wasn't a foul, but they've since come out and said that they should have called it a foul. And I'm like, yeah, no shit. Guy kind of got mugged there.
Yeah.
Kind of a scramble play, and was it Kyle Filipowski from Duke got the ball and was driving to make a dunk at the buzzer to beat, and two Virginia guys just kind of bodied him, and the officials reviewed it and then said it wasn't a foul, and then Virginia won in overtime.
Wow.
But you watch that replay. I'm not sure how you make that distinction.
Yeah. But it's one thing if you called it live, but then you had a chance to look at it again, and you still called it the same way. What?
Yeah. And that's just, again, we've talked about it. That's not just a college. I mean, it is real bad in college basketball, the refereeing right now. This goes across sports too. Arsenal yesterday over in the English Premier League, they got a review for an offsides that was, on a goal that ended up tying the game, and that's how it ended in a tie and cost them 2 points in the standings. Well, the refs came out later and said that the guy in charge of the replay forgot to look at a different player for the offsides. He was only looking at one when he should have been looking at another one that actually was offsides. Just forgot to look.
Wow.
And that is a potentially title turning because Arsenal is only up 3 points. Manchester City is chasing them down. And those 2 extra points would have benefited. You get 1 for a draw and 3 for a win. Well, that's just huge, man. I mean, you can't have those. And people wonder why so much we bitch about wanting to go to like kind of robot refs or more replay and stuff like that. That's why, because it's one thing.
Like, man, that doesn't even make sense.
Mm-hmm. It's one thing to miss a call. Everyone bitches like football. We misses holding. Well, there's holding on every play, so sometimes it has to be blatant. Now, there's certain judgment calls. Yeah, but sometimes you have to make these calls.
What are they missing? And we're sitting at home, and everybody sees it. The people that are calling the game, that are trained in the game, should definitely be calling it. And then that, it hurts the sport because, with everybody, all the gambling and everything that goes on now, then everybody goes to that, all those conspiracy theories and, it's rigged, and, always add to that talk as well. So they definitely need to, clean it up a little bit. Maybe, reffing isn't necessarily a full-time job for these guys. Maybe they need to figure out how to make it a full-time thing for them. So maybe it's taken more seriously. Have training in the off season, do different things that allows them to become, stay as fresh or as aware as possible, or be up on the rules as much. I don't know, but you think overall, just football, basketball, it's been a lot of questionable stuff. Even in the, the questionable calls in some in the AFC Championship game. A lot of stuff going on. It makes you go, wow. And these are the guys, because you hate to see the refs be the reason why a team win or loses a game. You want to see it as much on the court as possible or on the field, and just have the refs, mess everything up sometimes. Takes away from the sport, and you hate to see it. So
yeah, it's just unacceptable. Like I said, you can't have them making or missing calls or decisions that just
not the most
have that big of an impact.
Yeah, especially at the key
Yeah.
moment of a game. It could change everything for the season for a team, the championship picture for a team, or just a sport in general. To have that much effect, and by something, and it's not even something that could go either way. It's a obvious thing. Like it has to be made. Like go
Mm-hmm.
back and correct it if you have to, but make that call.
Exactly. Yeah. And, just whether that is more accountability for them, like maybe, hey, like you messed up that big, then you don't
Right.
get
We're
another game this
gonna
season.
give
And
you a
that's,
couple
you miss
game
out on that
suspension.
pay
You don't make the
or,
playoffs or something.
or or whether it's like tweaking a rule, like in soccer, I know the
Hmm.
offsides is like if the guy's knee is ahead of the defender, then he's offsides. Well, okay, maybe you need to tweak that rule and say that his whole body has
Right.
to be ahead of him because, maybe it's the spirit of the rule that you're looking for. So we're not
Yeah.
judging these inches and, we don't have replay
I think
officials like forgetting to look at
exactly, and
something.
I think on offsides on like a soccer game. Not that I'm the biggest expert, but I think it's should be more of an obvious thing. Like if it's so close that either way, some people are gonna be pissed. But I mean, if it throws off a game, after a goal or something, and it's like minuscule, like is that really what you want
Hmm.
the offsides to be? Compared to something obvious, but
Yeah. Um, but yeah, getting back to Alabama, their week, we mentioned the big Tennessee game in Knoxville Wednesday night. And then they'll have Georgia next Saturday at home back in Tuscaloosa, which should be a very winnable game.
should win. Yeah,
Um, that's huge. With Alabama's only got 6 games left in the season. You go in the Knoxville and beat Tennessee, you pretty
and we
much
we could
knock
definitely
them out of the
for
SEC
sure.
title picture. Yeah.
And we might not win them all, but there's no reason why we can't win the rest of the games. I think about it.
Yeah, Alabama's remaining schedule at Tennessee, home for Georgia, at South Carolina, which is a very winnable
Right.
road game. South Carolina is
And
only
they're
2-10
not
in
good at
conference play
all.
this year.
Outside of that weird
No,
Kentucky win, it's been bad.
yeah, just really random. Then you're home for Arkansas and Auburn.
If you can beat both of those teams on the road, there's no reason why you can't beat them in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, Arkansas pulled away, or Alabama pulled away from
Yeah,
Arkansas in Fayetteville, and then obviously just yesterday's tough win in Auburn. Exactly, their 2 wins, and then they would end the regular season at
it's
A
a
and M,
tough one.
possibly
Yeah.
for the conference title, maybe not. If we look at A&M's remaining schedule, once we load it here, they have Arkansas at home this week, at Missouri, home against Tennessee, at State, at Ole Miss, and then in the season home against
Well,
Alabama.
that might be an
So,
important game at the end, just depending on how A&M continues to play as well. But I would say,
yeah, if they handle
that might be
those
a big.
road games, that Missouri one's a
Missouri's
tough one.
always a tough place to go to, and they've been playing. They've been playing up and down. They're actually, I think much ahead of what people thought they would be this year. But Missouri, yeah, definitely
Hmm.
not a gimme game, especially in Columbia. They're a feisty team.
Yeah, but then you got Ole Miss 2-10 in conference play. State's having a down year. They went and they went in their last game went in Baton Rouge and beat an LSU team that was frankly just once conference play started, it
Yeah,
was
the
not
LSU
good for the
team is not
Tigers.
good at all.
Yeah, 1 win in the SEC play so far. Rough for them elsewhere around the country. Purdue is battling right now. They're up 8 on
Hmm.
Northwestern. As far as big teams go, as far as teams Alabama's battling for number 1 overall seed in the tournament, just
I was shocked that
kind of a
they had
fast
us in
finish
the
here.
Midwest region this week as the one seed. Joe Lenardi's bracket. I was like,
Yeah, it's interesting. Every time I see it, Purdue is
yeah,
getting the South region, which you normally wouldn't think, but that's because that regional is in
right,
Louisville, which is probably just a couple hours from Purdue's
yeah,
campus there in
more than
West
likely.
Lafayette, Indiana. Yeah, right now they have Alabama in the Midwest, which is a Kansas City.
Kansas.
Kansas has a 2 seed in Kansas City. That's not favorable
No,
of y'all
that's
right there.
terrible. If that's
That's
terrible if we're the one seed in. I mean, you've seen the Big 12 tournament whenever it's in Kansas City. It's nothing but Jayhawk
Mm-hmm.
City. Like that'd be ridiculous.
Yeah, that would be a switch that
Yeah.
needed to happen there. Yeah, as of now, if we read this, Alabama, their 2 seed would be Kansas, their 3 would be Virginia, their 4 would be
Mm,
Gonzaga, potential Sweet
that's
16
so cool.
rematch there.
So tough bracket.
Yeah, that'd be a tough one. It seems, yeah. Whereas you look at Purdue's, their 2 would be UCLA, their 3 would be Iowa State, and their 4 would be
Jeez.
Xavier.
Not even the same.
Yeah, yeah,
If you look at it, I mean,
yeah. And
arguably, I
the
mean,
other,
even though they've had some struggles, Kansas is close to a one line. So
mhm.
we'll
So
see how it
yeah, we'll
plays
see.
out. We know a lot will change that before the show, but
Exactly. And elsewhere, that's pretty much it. We did our our Super Bowl predictions last week. Again, sorry,
yep,
Eagles fans.
Kansas City definitely is winning
Um,
the Super Bowl.
yeah, they that game kicks off here in a few hours. Your prediction still the same?
No,
Any
I'm
changes this
still
week?
saying Eagles
Yeah,
win. Hopefully it'll be
yeah.
hopefully
I
it'll
think
be a better
I'm
game
saying.
than what I'm thinking, but I don't know. I just think Eagles just have just that defense is nasty. You got the amount of people with double digit sacks on that defensive line is crazy. If you look at the numbers, it's like man, they've been ferocious, and yeah, Pat's gonna be running for his life a lot. I think. But we'll see how they play
Yeah.
how they play for that. But so as a football fan, when your team's not in it, I mean, you might as well have arguably the 2 best teams uh, in the NFL playing each other. I mean, it gives it as much excitement as you can get when your team's not in it, for sure.
Yeah. And other than that, right now, big NBA game going on. Celts
Hmm.
and Grizz. Celtics up 5 now with under 7 to go in that one. Fun
Yeah.
little
I've been
afternoon
watching
game.
this.
NBA news: the Packers. I see the Jets
Yeah, I
have
just
asked the
saw that
Packers
about Aaron
about Aaron
Rodgers. Like,
Rodgers.
you've already tried that with Brett. Is this what you want to do with Aaron too? I mean, I understand like for a year,
uh,
but like the Jets have so much young potential. Like I want to get someone there that's gonna be there for a while. You want to make the right move.
mm-hmm.
Like makes more sense. Like see what cars. Derek Carr makes way more sense if you're gonna.
Mm-hmm. I saw his name. He talked
Yeah,
to New Orleans this
that'd
week.
be crazy because I mean, they have quite they got a lot of offensive talent. We thought the same last year and with the with the Raiders, but
That's
they have a
true.
lot
Yeah.
of talent there in New Orleans. I mean, so who knows?
Yeah. A lot of. I mean, anytime you still have, Alvin Kamara is still
Yeah,
there and kind of a down year this year, but once he got healthy,
it
he
did look
looked
good.
good. That just seemed more about the limitations of Andy
Yeah,
Dalton, Taysom Hill, and strangely just not playing Jameis Winston after they paid for him. I know he had that back injury
right.
earlier in the year, but by all accounts he was healthy
Yeah,
and they just didn't play him. So we'll see.
that'd be it.
Let's see elsewhere. The Colts are apparently looking at Eagles offensive coordinator Shane Steichen as their
Didn't
head
they
coach.
just do
Once
that? Where was where was Frank Reich before?
he was the Philly
like I,
offensive coordinator.
oh, I,
Well, hey, if he can somehow get Jalen
right.
Hurts to come with him,
Yeah.
then yeah, why not?
But it's just like you guys just did this. Is this the? I understand it's a different guy, different situation, but like it's like you just guys just made this same move. Is this what you want to do again? Like, I,
Yeah. Well, not only that, Nick
yeah,
Sirianni was the Colts offensive coordinator before the
yikes,
Eagles hired him as their head coach. So kind of a
yikes.
just one of those
And
things
then
going on right
and then
there.
Serrani, he got let go by Andy Reid at one point. So that's it.
Mm-hmm. Let's see elsewhere. Calais Campbell announces he'll return for a
Wow, that's been
16th
a long.
season. Yeah,
Right.
and he's still making plays. He's a guy who's contemplated retirement past couple seasons in Baltimore there, but he's still making plays. He has said that he is He's sitting at 99 career sacks. He wants 100. It'd be interesting to see if he stays with Baltimore or if they try to either trade him, cut him, or just rework his contract to reduce his salary cap hit. I personally, as a fan, love to see him stick around. He's good for at least one field goal block a year, and he just takes up so much attention in the middle of the line there, especially with signing Roquan Smith to that long term. Again, any guy that can eat up blocks in front of him that kind of reminds you of those Sam Adams, Haloti Nada taking up space in front of Ray Lewis days.
Have you watched that documentary about that?
Which, by the way, I did. I was just about to say that. I actually did watch the Bullies of Baltimore this week. It was good. I enjoyed it. It was fun. A good little trip down memory lane.
So nasty. Yeah. Was it the month of October? Like the Ravens didn't even score an offensive touchdown.
Yeah. 5 straight games. They went 5 straight games with no touchdowns on offense. They won 3 of them because of that defense. And that was, they beat the big bad Titans twice in Nashville that year, which was, at that point in time, you just could not beat the Titans in Nashville.
They were good. McNair, Eddie George. Steve McNair was one of the most tough guys ever. One of the toughest guys ever. He would have the worst injuries, but never come out for any reason. It was crazy.
He was great and unheralded, kind of underrated guy. Hell, before Lamar came along, he was the best quarterback in Ravens history, and he only played about 2 seasons there. Yeah, those old Tennessee teams: Derek Mason, Eddie George, Devon Curse on defense, the freak. But
physical.
Yeah, that it was a fun little 30 for 30. Nothing groundbreaking, nothing too revealing, no shocking, but it's fun to watch if you interested in defense. And the format was they basically just videoed they did a reunion celebration in Baltimore, got a lot of those personalities on that team back on stage together. Tony Saragusa was a month before he passed. Shannon Sharp, Ray Lewis, all those guys. Marvin Lewis, defense coordinator. Jack Del Rio, who was a linebackers coach, which a lot of people forget there. He that's why he got some head coaching gigs.
You forget how good of a great
good little coaching staff was. Yeah, especially for Brian Billick was supposed to be an offensive genius. He's a guy that was offense coordinator with Minnesota when they set all those records.
With Randy and them, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was offense coordinator the year that Randall Cunningham, Randy Moss, Chris Carter just lit up the league.
But they choked on the. Was that Mort Anderson?
Missed kick.
One of his only missed kicks of all his whole
It was like the only time he ever missed. Worst time that sent the Dirty Bird Falcons to the Super Bowl.
It was cool because I like their team, but I thought that's the Dirty Bird dance. Jamal Anderson was cool, but the overall that Vikings Broncos game would have been pretty epic, I think.
Oh yeah, man! You wanted to see that instead of John Elway. It was nice for him to get right off in the sunset with another. But that was a boring Super Bowl. Falcons couldn't really do anything.
Back-to-back kick returns. I think Tim Dwight had a kick return for a touchdown, and I think Denver he either answered or Denver answered that had a kick return as well. But other than that, I can't say anything about the Super Bowl.
Yeah. No, the big thing I remember from that week, that was the week that the Falcon safety got caught with Eugene Robinson. Yeah.
Yeah. He got Man of the Year or something.
Yeah, won the Walter Payton Man of the Year award, and then that Super Bowl week got caught with a prostitute.
Trying to solicit prostitutes and got arrested.
Yeah. Oh, man. It was not good for the Falcons there. Tough Super Bowl history for the Falcons.
He knew it was going to be downhill after that. That and comeback are the only things you think about with Falcons in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's man. I kind of remember rooting for that Falcons team. I think I was a Dirty Bird fan too. Who wasn't? Jamal Anderson.
Who was the quarterback? Chris Chandler?
Chris Chandler. Yeah, Chris Chandler, when he wasn't concussed. I don't even remember who their receivers were because Andre Rison would have been gone by then, I think.
Rison was gone, and they didn't have – it wasn't who – wow.
It was before Roddy White.
Before Roddy White, before Crumpler.
Yeah, that I
I
honestly
don't
could
even,
not
I
tell you
can't even
anybody
think.
else on that team.
I could think of about Jamal Anderson.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I mean, he did. I think at the time, I don't know if he still holds them, but at the time, he broke uh, rushing attempt records on that team, like over 400 attempts.
No.
So
It was,
that was their offense, handed to
it was.
Jamal Anderson. Other than that, yeah, no real big in NFL news. You know, Ravens still looking for um, an offensive coordinator, and
Coordinator. The weird thing is that, like, I've heard that the enemy might be an option there, which is interesting. But,
yeah, that's definitely, yeah. If he doesn't end up a head coach, I've seen that Cliff Kingsbury might join D'Amico Ryan's staff in
right?
Houston as offensive coordinator, which would be a good get for them.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to see that if they get Bryce Young, see Bryce sling it in that
Oh,
offense.
that'd be fun
Yeah, fun to watch.
to watch. For
Another
sure.
Eagles, their quarterback coach Brian Johnson is another popular guy.
Yeah, you'd have to
Um,
think at some point he's definitely going to get that jump because I mean, no matter
mhm.
what, I mean, he done a lot with getting Jalen to that next level. So you'd have to think at some point he's definitely going to get moves up to offensive coordinator or a head coaching job at some point because he's
Yeah,
done a heck of a job
absolutely.
with Jalen there for sure.
But yeah, that should be it in the world of sports this week. Don't think we missed anything. Um,
Oh, I will say
but,
I did watch some of the. It's hyped up the game, but I knew it was how it's going to go. You know, in the women's game, South Carolina blasted LSU. Two
mhm.
undefeated teams going in, but you know you could tell that South, even though LSU was on the come up with Kim Mulkey as their coach, South Carolina just on a different level than most other women's teams.
Yeah, yeah, they're kind of in that almost that Tennessee UConn.
Yeah, they've entered that echelon of greatness where when they don't win, you're like, wow.
Yeah, uh, yeah, exactly. They're kind of like you said. They're just a different level than basically everyone else in
Exactly.
that sport right now.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, other than that, I think we've covered everything. There's
pretty
no,
much.
yeah,
Sad that this will be the last day of football.
yeah,
For a
exactly. No
while.
more football for a while. You know, we'll have the USFL and
Okay. Yeah,
come up,
maybe
and we'll,
interesting. It'll be somewhat
yeah,
interesting.
it's worth it to see which guys will, get into the NFL for next year.
Exactly.
And then, of course, everything will turn to the draft.
Yeah, we'll have the
And
draft, March Madness. So, I mean, it's a lot going on. We'll have the start of baseball. So, a lot of good sports stuff coming up, and then we'll get in the playoff season, hockey,
mhm,
basketball. So, it'll be fun. But yeah,
yep,
it's just not the same as we all know. Once football season just turns into a whole bunch of, getting ready for the draft and see 5,000 mock drafts coming up.
oh yeah, reading all those mock drafts. I will say the one, a couple that I've looked at right now, I've seen one that had Anthony Richardson going to the Ravens, and can I just vote no for that as a fan? No, I'd
like,
rather anything but a quarterback.
I understand, but like, I understand he has that potential. But do you really want to put a first round pick? I mean,
No,
some of these
if
moves,
he's there in like
especially
the,
with
no, go ahead.
just with that, some of these, some of these general managers, they have one shot. You pull you pull him at the eight spot or something. It doesn't work out. That might be the end of your time. like I don't know. I'm not gonna put possible potential on the line when it comes to my job. I'm gonna go with the pick that I know for sure is gonna be more than likely, and what could happen. But
Yeah. Well, that said, what's done up real good for you this week?
well, I did have my birthday on Thursday, 39. I guess just making it this far in life. Unfortunately, I've had some college friends, high school friends that haven't made it there. So, blessed to be here, and that's my done up for the week. How about you?
I was just going to kind of say, in general, life is good. And then this morning, recently, Mercer, my son, he discovered his hands, and that was just fun to watch a baby kind of just sitting there and stare at his hands
Yeah.
like some drunk or
Oh,
stoned
what's
guy.
this?
Exactly, literally just staring at him. So we had a good laugh this
What are
morning about
these?
that.
Yeah, that's funny.
But other than that, hey, Thanks again for listening, everybody. As always, check out everything we have to offer on the Alabama Take as far as podcast and writings. Everybody have a great week. Greg, we'll see you next time.
See you. Don't eat too much Super Bowl food, guys.
Oh, for sure.